And I am going to call my distinguished panel up. I'm going to just do it in random order. So if I could get Akshat Rathee, who's the co-founder and managing director, NODWIN Gaming, up. Alipio, director and head of games, South Asia, Pacific, Middle East, and North Africa, the Walt Disney Company. Lacey, country manager, Level Infinite, MENA, Tencent Games Global. And of course, Fisser, VP and GM, Middle East, Africa, India, Turkey, Sony, PlayStation. Okay, let's enter the thrilling world of the MENA gaming industry. So, and Faiz already did such a great introduction, but I'm just going to repeat some of it. According to market intelligence firm Newzoo, right, not only was there a 4.7% bump in MENA consumer spending on games in 2023 to 7.1 billion, you saw that, but I'm going to reiterate it again because I'm so proud. This region is the fastest growing games market in the world. We have the perfect combination of passionate gamers and government support, right? So this exciting initiative, Dubai Program for Gaming 2033, will play a pivotal role in forging new partnerships, promoting global collaboration, creating diverse job opportunities, attracting international talent, and diversify the UAE economy. So I'm going to start, John, I'm looking at you over there. I'm going to start with you. From a Level Infinite perspective, what makes a successful game in MENA?
Okay, so a successful game in MENA comprises of obviously, not much different to what makes a successful game everywhere in the world. It's pretty ubiquitous to some extent, but I think the main aspect that people focus on is obviously the localization. That's what you hear a lot, to localize the game. And immediately people's minds jump either to, camels and pyramids, and that's about as far as they go, or it's the language, we need to be in Arabic and obvious things like that. But really what it is about localization of your resource entirely. So when you talk about, setting up in Dubai, and why should we have an office in Dubai, why should we have resources in Dubai? It's not just the people, it's not just the nationalities that we hire and whether we hire a certain amount of this nationality or that nationality or a diverse team or whatever. It's really our entire resource, our entire publishing resource. As a whole. So the main focus to be successful in the MENA region is to obviously focus on a localized publishing resource. And that's every single aspect. So whether we're talking about the language as one, or the sound or the video or whatever, or whether we're talking about our infrastructure, or our esports, or the people that run this section of the business or that section of the business. It's every single aspect of resource that has to synergize together, obviously with our global team as well, because we're running 365 days a year. We're running global beats and local beats for majority of our AAA games. And if you're going to publish a AAA game in MENA, and you want to do it well, then you need to have a localized resource in every single aspect. You're only as strong as your weakest link. It's as simple as that. It's very cliche, but that is true. And you need to gradually, over a period of time, over a lot of the gaming industry, a lot of the AAA players that have been working in the gaming industry, have been here easily the best part of a decade, probably 15, 20 years now, working on that. And the industry has matured over that time from a hub which has grown in Dubai. And that community of industry players and leaders that have built up their resources and localized their resources and committed to a localization of resource in Dubai have learnt those lessons over the last 10 years. And now it's sort of time to kick on to the next stage, if you like. I joke when Robert came in, is using some complimentary language my way. But I'm sort of second generation gaming industry. I see around the room there's a lot of first generation people that are probably laughing that what's this nuisance doing up on the stage. Robert's from the first generation of gaming industry players, a real OG. So it's how that second generation now kicks on, and can Dubai support that like it supported the first generation of industry leaders?
Fabulous, and that's fabulous that you kicked off and built a foundation. I'm going to move on. Akshat, would you like to talk about what you guys are doing?
So to us, the region, we come from India when we started our business, and now we are in 22 countries. But for us, this is a really important part of the world, and as we've seen very similar growth curves, which is there. So while we keep on talking about gaming, and this is one of the things I want this room to know, there was a time that we were the nerds. We are not. Everyone who's not is kind of being left behind right now. Gaming is a superset. In India, we have 800 million gamers. 800 million. And we define a person who's a gamer as a person who has a cell phone or any device and has played 1 hour of a game in a month, right? And it can be Candy Crush, it can be Tic-Tac-Toe, it can be PUBG Mobile, it can be Spider-Man on the console. It doesn't matter. You're all gamers. You just don't know it yet. And that's fine. And we've seen that started happening here. And if that is true, and gaming is becoming, if a young person exists with an electronic device in their house and they are by definition a gamer, so every young person's a gamer. If every young person's a gamer, then the question which is there is the metric that we need to go ahead and define, and financial metrics are great, we all live by them. I think a great metric we drive ourselves by is something called timeshare of mindshare. Timeshare of mindshare is a metric that works really well by going and saying how many touch points around a gamer's life are you going and engaging with them on. Now, we have music festivals, we own Comic-Con, we own esports festivals, we have esports tournaments, we have a show that runs on Amazon. We work very actively with our friends at Sony on things like Crunchyroll. Cosplay, it's okay. These are all manifestations of a gamer's life. Because if the gamer is a superset, gaming is not all they do. And that's a very important thing to take back. If you're a youth marketing company, if you need anything to go to, if you need to reach the youth, if you're not doing gaming, you will be left behind.
Yeah.
And I think with this part of the world, that's something that fundamentally people understand. We've looked at the Middle East being extremely, and all the numbers you talked about, very high disposable incomes, very high ability to go ahead and engage with technology, extremely well-read people. So I think the curves that were running in other emerging markets will be accelerated to a factor of 4 or 5 or 10 in this region. So change will become much faster. And our ability to go ahead and work with the OGs and our second generations to go ahead and make sure we can go ahead and get that timeshare of mindshare of the youth in this region.
I love it. And it has huge opportunities, obviously, for advertisers, and we'll talk more about that. Jay, can you talk more about what you're doing with the Walt Disney Company here?
Thank you, Lucy. Hello, everyone. I'm Jay. I look after a region that we call South APAC, Middle East, and North Africa. I wear 2 hats. One is business development. So I work with game studios, just John, who take our IP and create great games out of them. So that's one. Second, I would say is pseudo publishing, where we help our regional and global partners to succeed in local markets. Again, complementing what John have shared a while ago.
And Robert?
Yes, good morning, everybody. Great to be here, and thank you for the invite. And yeah, our journey actually here started 20 years ago. So in 2004, the executive leadership team at PlayStation decided there's a great opportunity here in the region. And we started with 1-2 people, and now we're 18, huge revenue. And that was well before we had all these beautiful programs from the government. So if you're ready to engage now and you've got all these facilities available, really use them. So we talked about before, I think the topic was about what makes it successful, and ultimately it's about the gamer themselves and the fan engagement. So what do we do as PlayStation here in the region? We really localize that approach. We build and foster those gaming communities around our wonderful IP. And we do that by using our bilingual social media channels, for example. And one of them, quite a few years ago now, we started our own local YouTube studio with a YouTube host, a brand ambassador. And through that, we, for example, create very unique local content to complement any global initiatives and global content that's being created. So, for example, last year Ramadan, this year Ramadan, we had a specific series of YouTube episodes during Ramadan that got phenomenal engagement with the local regional players. And then, for example, we also have a podcast, Press X, which is in Arabic with local content. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we do, especially from a marketing, fan engagement, community, that drives the engagement and therefore ultimately the success.
Thank you so much. That's great. I want to just continue on with discussing business opportunities. And, you know, Dubai's focus on gaming is stimulating a burgeoning, and some might say, you know, a market that's more than burgeoning, right? And this creates an opportunity for game-related businesses and provides opportunities for established companies like all of yours, like you just described, to collaborate, to innovate, to thrive within this dynamic marketplace. So, Jay, what does Disney Games look for in a studio when creating your next big hit?
Thank you for that, Lucy. One note that I'd like to share with everyone here today is that we as a group tend to be seen as we only work with the big guys, you know, the AAA studios, for example. Guys would have 3,000, 5,000 headcount studios. I'm here today to really share with you guys that that's not the case. You know, like we're really open, whether you're a 3,000, 30,000 man studio or a 3-man studio, we're open to work with you guys. You know, however, there is a few filters that we try to look into, right? And one of that is passion. You know, like passion about game development in general, particularly looking into the creative and the innovative aspects of gameplay. Right? We don't. We lean into studios who are passionate about really creating what's going to be the next big hit, right? Regardless of the IP, right? Number one. But also number two, we're also looking into how these studios are passionate with our brands. You know, like do they really understand what are the core values of what Mickey and Friends, for example, represent? You know, to not just to gamers but in fans in general. What does the values of Marvel, of Star Wars, of Indiana Jones, for example, that these brands actually bring to the players? So it's very, very important for us to look into that. But also, you know, it's not just about having a clear vision of a studio's creativity and innovation, as well as their passion to the brand, but also understanding that they are able to, what we call land the plane. You know, are they able to really deliver and really ship the game, hopefully on time, but more importantly, faithful to the vision that they set up from the very beginning.
Yeah, and to all the 3-man studios out there, Jay's going to be able to give out his business card afterwards outside. That's awesome.
Add me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You know, like, but if I can add one more. So a great testament on this is 2 recent games that we launched, right? So one is with a company called Delilah, where we created a whimsical multiplayer platformer game. It's called Disney Illusion Island. Please Google it. And then there's another one which we worked with Bithell Studios, where we launched Tron Identity, which is a stunning, handcrafted narrative puzzle game. Oh, sorry, that's a mouthful. But it's amazing. You know, like these are like indie. You know, like when you play the game, it feels the quality is there definitely, but it adds so it highlights what's actually right for the IP, but in an environment that's totally native to games.
That's awesome. Okay, it sounds like it's a game that we need to play next. Who else would like to share a successful collaboration example in MENA? Would any of the other three of you?
Yeah, I mean, I can go. Kind of years ago, we got in contact with a game developer in Jordan, Rababa Games, and they wanted to bring their game to the console format. So we started working with them on the technology side, on the development kits, porting their game, and as that reached towards publishing, and that was on PlayStation 4 at the time, which had a benefit that we had a PlayStation Store, so they not necessarily needed to press a lot of discs and all of that. So the publishing route was fairly convenient for them, and that game was extremely successful, actually still is. And we also worked with them on marketing initiatives, promoting that game into our local social media channels, all the marketing activities, and then tactical sales promotions during Ramadan offers, etc. To the extent now that we're working with them on Hajwala 2. And it's a great game because it's about kind of drifting in cars, which appeals to local culture here. So very, very successful from a point of view working with a studio publisher. And then we also do tactical elements here, more technical on the marketing side. So for the release of the game Rise of the Ronin, we worked with a very popular sushi restaurant chain here called Sushi Art. And we had a specific Rise of the Ronin, I think it was called the Warrior Box, on their menu to highlight that game, which you could order through, online or in the restaurants. So, really kind of big things and then tactical things as well.
That's awesome. That's a great case study. John?
I think the biggest partnership that we have is so obvious is with our users, with our gamers. The biggest investors in both time and money are our users now. You could say, well, that's always been that way, hasn't it? Aren't they the guys buying the game? But, since free-to-play and all this. But now we're talking about people that play games, and mobile games in particular, not just for 6 months or a few months or even a year. These IPs are going on now 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. I take PUBG Mobile as an example, which is the game we handle, #1 game in the region. Why is that? What I can say that's become an incredible partnership, which I'd never seen before, is the synergy between our users and the amount of time they invest, the amount of money they invest, and the way our studio embraces that and listens to them and doesn't just take it for granted. Our studio, they come here, they meet with the users. They don't even come meet with me. They just come and meet the gamers without us even knowing. So it's on such it's taken for granted now inside our business that must happen. That's the way we must go about our business. That's not just it's going beyond localization or what people call hyper-localization. It's the studio coming from studio members coming from wherever they are in the world, the developers, the teams, the stakeholders internally are coming here and sitting directly with the users and listening to what they want bringing back, what they want us to double down on, what they don't like. And, it's that dialogue that happens locally that I think is really, really refreshing and something that I've definitely seen change in the last few years versus, say, what it was like in the past. And I think it's testament to, again, the sort of culture that's been created and the openness and the diversity and how comfortable and people feel with coming to the region now and having those dialogues. And it gets rid of a lot of misconceptions because there are still so many misconceptions. There's so many young people in the industry that have a certain lens on the Middle East, whether you're in the East or whether you sit in Shanghai or you sit in LA. The lens is very strange on the Middle East, let's put it that way. So if you come to Dubai, you get a different lens. And if you sit with people and you talk with people, whether they're in the industry or whether they're just our core users or casual users, I think all of that together, it's complex, but the biggest hurdle to overcome, especially if you work and live here in this market, this is not a tier 1 market. Okay, it's not. We all accept that. It's not the US, it's not China. So you battle with perception of the region and perception of individuals on a hourly, minute-by-minute basis, from one meeting to the next meeting, there is always somebody new that you have to explain the Middle East to. You know, it's frustrating, but what is that big step change that has happened is we're not having to now explain it on a Zoom call or a call or when they come to a conference. You know, the industry is coming out here and having the dialogue, as I said, with our biggest investors, which are the users. You know, and you know what should that breed in the future is, you know, games that are not just more relevant, but you know are more fun for players. That's the bottom line. What is fun to a user here might be a little bit different to a user somewhere else. There are a lot of synergies. You know, I personally am a believer that a great game is a great game no matter where you are in the world. People over-obsess with whether it needs to be this in MENA, it needs to be that, you know, in Southeast Asia, or this in the West. Great game is a great game. But great games don't come along very often. It's the 99% of other games that need to be published that you need to dial in on. So, yeah, but it's a good thing. You know, developers are coming here.
I love that you started with, that the focus is on the gamer, right? That's ultimately the most important. And it's a big deal that a company that's global like Tencent is saying, okay, but this is where you need to be to understand what's going on. Did you want to share with NODWIN?
To us, we're fundamentally a B2B company, right? So for us, this part of the world is extremely important for collaborations. And just this panel, John, we work very actively on PUBG Mobile in Africa together and in different parts of the world. We were very fortunate or unfortunate, the way you look at it. We were part of getting a PUBG Mobile World Championship done in Dubai during COVID. The good news is it happened. So we work very actively, and with Jay, we work very actively with going and looking at what Disney and NODWIN are going and doing with different games in different markets. And that entire ability to go ahead and use this place as a microcosm of the world around us. And then we just had a very nice thing where Faisal just showed us how far the rest of the world within a flight is. And if you look at that, if you look at majority of the world being stationed out of here, we can go ahead and do even bigger things. With Robert, Sony, we are very privileged to have Sony as one of our investors. So we work very actively with the Sony team across the plethora of things that they have, whether it be the PlayStation or Crunchyroll or other aspects that they have. They have a music label. You know, Sony Music's fairly big, and how we can go ahead and use at a juxtaposition of music, gaming, sports, and platforms as we go forward. Because while they focus extremely well on the B2B, on the B2C side and the consumers, we keep on understanding what the consumer keeps on changing their mind on. And the ability to go ahead and put festivals around and the celebration of being a gamer is extremely important. And there's no other part of the world that we can go ahead and do these collaborations in, right? Because every market kind of focuses very internally onto them. This part of the world not only focuses internally, but is also a very big springboard to the rest of the markets that are sitting there. So India, for example, rolls up to Robert, and when we go ahead and have these chats about what we should be doing in India, and Africa rolls up to John, and then we talk about what Africa is doing, and APAC rolls up to Jay, and then we go ahead and have that chat, and we're all sitting here doing this.
That's fabulous that we have like 3 of your collaborators. I wonder how many more we could have brought up on stage. That's fabulous. Let's move on to technology. So the gaming industry is evolving rapidly, right, with the developments of AR, VR, AI. John, what is the impact of new tech on monetization strategies for yourselves?
Look, it's really, for me, the age of mobile gaming. You know, it's very, very much in its infancy, mobile gaming. Everything that comes with that, you know, at the heart of the gaming industry has always been technology. It's always been a technology driver, the gaming industry. So it goes without saying that a lot of technologies that are within gaming transcend into other industries. You know, the gaming industry drives certain technologies, and it will continue to do so for the next decade and beyond. So I think really as a focus point right now is the diversity that you're going to see in mobile games. And audiences. converging. So I think that is really going to be driven by the next stage of development in mobile games. I think mobile games have maybe been looked down on for a long time. And there is restrictions in the technology and in the past, whereas what a console can provide or a PC. So I think at the core of a gamer's experience is the device. What device are they choosing to use, and which device is the developer choosing to develop on? So I think it's a really exciting time now to see where mobile gaming goes and how far it can be pushed. And will there be some limitations into what experiences you can have on mobile? And quite rightly, there are certain games that just don't suit mobile as the device of choice. So I think that's where we're sort of focused as a mobile-first developer, and having some of the best AAA studios in the mobile front. I think that's what Tencent Games has really doubled down on in the last decade.
And we should tell everyone, I would assume the majority of the audience already knows, but mobile games is actually the choice of.
Yeah, it's easy to get distracted by the buzzwords without focusing on how much more potential. We're only scratching the surface on mobile games. Yeah. It's there are certain markets that haven't even adopted to mobile games. This is a mobile-first market now, even though historically, the PlayStation, is just sort of your default household gaming device. But the numbers show that the majority of people here are playing mobile. But that's not the case in all parts of the world. It's still to come.
Right. No, that's fabulous. And I'm going to turn to you, Akshat. How do you see these technologies impacting game design?
Look, everyone, most of the people, this is what I call quick context. I believe there is I'm a founder. I'm a multi-time founder. I've been privileged to go ahead and invest into lots of companies. Some of my CEOs are here. I have a running analogy of a joke, and it's every 4 years, one of the CXOs has their way. So this is the joke. The CEO, the CTO, the CFO, the CHO, and the CRO, and the CMO sit down in a room, and they're like, guys, we need to go ahead and figure out this thing called valuations. Right? And they're like, how do you do that? He's like, we don't know. There's some math around it, but we don't know. So as an example, you are the CMO. He's like, first you're going to go. And he's like, great. What's the valuation you want? He's like, I don't know. I want users. Great. You got the 4 years. He gets 4 years with it. Then the CTO comes. He's like, what is it? He's like, head count. I care about head count. And he gets the head count. Then the next person comes, like the product guy comes in, he's like, what is it? He's like, user engagement, right? And we go ahead and set this, and I think this is the 4-year era that we will have. I think we've finished about 1.5 to 2 years of it, of the CFO. He likes profitability right now, so we are in the profitability era. And in 2 years' time, something new will come up. And as everyone goes there, all technologies, all buzzwords, then start going in and being looked at with those filters. Mm-hmm. So right now, if you're looking at AI, everyone talks about it from the CFO's lens, which is, hey, this is going to reduce cost. But we are also sitting here in the Museum of the Future, and we're talking with the 10 years in the future. I think AI's view on this is it will unlock the best creativity for mankind, because right now creativity was with the experts. Right? If you were to learn being a great artist, you had to spend 6 years of learning art to go ahead and do that. A lot of that is routine that you have to go ahead and do. You have to get your wrist in the right place. You have to go ahead and do this. Some of that will get commoditized with AI. Right? The ability to think fast and just create worlds just by your dreams, and just your ability to whisper to AI what you're looking for, will create an era of great creativity around AI whisperers who will create, whether it's game design, whether it is optimized code, whether it is, but someone has to dream it, right? I don't think AI is going to dream for us yet. AI might do things faster for us or efficiently for us, and that's why it'll learn things faster. You can tell it to paint like Rembrandt or Picasso, because it just understood the differentiations between that. But it still doesn't go ahead and come up with a great, it'll copy someone's to go ahead and get inspiration. It's like someone who copies music to go ahead and say, hey, I've been inspired. But the true inspiration is the democratization of anyone who has a cell phone, who I have a dream. And then they'll come up with those ideas and to go ahead. And I think that's where game design.
I love that. Can't Dream. And I believe, and maybe it's the Dubai Future Foundation that's putting on an AI prompt competition right now. So I think anyone that wants to partake in that, I think that's amazing. So ultimately, gaming is a storytelling platform. So to deeply engage, we talked earlier, you need to mesh everything into the cultural landscape of the MENA region. We need personalized experiences. We can incorporate Arabic music soundtracks, create compelling narratives inspired by the region's diverse history, essentially developing gameplay that appeals to MENA. Robert, could you share an example of this taking place within Sony? You shared a lot already, but...
Well, one thing that we're, of course, have worked on is taking our storytelling from games into new media, or not new, but different media formats. So we've worked very closely, for example, with Sony Pictures to take our storytelling from particular gaming IPs into movies and into TV series, be it Gran Turismo, Twisted Metal, the very successful The Last of Us TV series. And it sounds very simple to say this and to, you know, but actually to execute something like that, even if it's within your own sister companies, takes a lot of planning, a lot of execution, and actually just to get that storytelling right for a non-interactive format, but appealing for that audience, is an art by itself. So we find it a very interesting way to broaden outside the gaming audience.
Awesome. And I do think it's people don't appreciate how important how long the process is for localization.
I'll add a comment on that, and we're all gamers, right? So we've been treated. I'm 45. For the first 30 years of my life, I've been treated to horrible game adaptations in popular culture, right? Really bad ones. Like, why can't they go ahead and treat games properly? And for the longest time, Hollywood or the studios or someone was going and saying, consumers, gamers, make something for them and they'll enjoy it. And I'll use the word very carefully, we are idiots. We kept on consuming that. But as we've grown older, people like me, my age, have become the directors. Gamers are now making great movies. And you look at the content, like if you look at the top 10 pieces of content on planet Earth today, 5 of them are from gaming stories. Fallout just came out right now. Brilliant series, right? Number 1 as there. Last year was 2023. We keep on saying it's one of the really bad years with layoffs and whatever. First time on planet Earth's history that we had 7 platinum games being released. And platinum game is a game which makes $1 billion. Last year was the first time ever, and it was actually in the first 6 months, there were 6 platinum games. So the game industry last year launched, but most of them, single-player games. Starfield, the new Legend of Zelda that came out, Hogwarts, the game which is there. So one of the big things that pivoted last year, which was so much multiplayer, went into great single-player experiences and narrative experiences being designed by people who were gamers and who want to go ahead and respect what gamers like to go ahead and do. And I think that pivot that is happening with people in this room being some of those people who are going and building the future for this, that's the thing. And then I think Sony's taken that, Disney's gone and done that, even Level Infinite, that entire group, where we have great people who love gaming and respect gamers for this, rather than, hey, I'll just make something and they'll still buy it. They'll go ahead and say, no, I want to go ahead and this is a labor of my love for this. This is an homage to what I love to go ahead and do.
No, I love it because it's like fun, right, which is number 1, but immersive at a very high level. And this, actually, I should then ask Jay, how flexible is Disney Games when it comes to original narratives and interpretation of your globally loved characters?
Thank you for that, Lucy. So we at Walt Disney Games endeavor to really figure out how we can create refreshing reimaginations of our IP for the right audience. But But before we go there, and a lot of people try to like run through that idea, is that I would go back first to what I shared a while ago, where before we even explore, this new interpretations of our IP, reimaginations, it's really about how capable is that studio? Like how passionate they are in game development, like how passionate are they from the IP, that they would understand the core values of that IP in order to create something new to the eyes visually, but retains the value of that particular IP. So I have a great example here with a title that we released with a very talented studio from Japan. They're called Aniplex. Where we launched a game called Twisted Wonderland. Like if you guys Google it, it will never look like a Disney game. It's like, hey, what's this? Imagine a narrative game for mobile devices built on a manga art style. So for us, if you're going to talk to me before I joined Disney, and that game would be coming from Disney, I would never believe it, because from my lens during that time, before I joined Disney, it's a lens of, like you have a set visualization of the characters. That's it. But with that title, like it shows how malleable our IPs are. Again, with the right care, with the right respect, with the right studio, who's going to be applying those ideas. We endeavor, again, to look into providing white spaces to capable studios who can put both the IP as well as the gameplay at the core of the art of the game that they're doing and create something special.
Yeah, the art must be absolutely incredible. I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
right,
so Google it, Twisted
Okay.
Wonderland.
All right.
It doesn't look Disney at all.
Right.
But it's a lightning rod of a franchise for us, in Japan, and we're very excited for it.
I want to finish off with a bit of a round robin and asking each of you what your prediction is for the gaming industry in the next 5 to 10 years. What advice would you have for aspiring professionals looking to enter this industry? We're going to start with Akshat, and then Jay, I'm going to differ your question just a little bit. Any last words to studios keen to partner with Disney's plethora of IPs and stories? But for everyone else, 5 to 10 year outlook.
I think we will have the first president, or we've already had it. We have presidents or prime ministers or rulers who are already gamers.
Yes.
We have 3 of them. I think
think all.
I think hopefully in the next 10 years, 20% of the G20 leaders will be gamers. I think it's already started happening. We will not be a sect that people are catering to. We will be the superset. In the next 10 years, I will be 55. People our age will start. Some of us will get into politics, and some of us will go ahead and get in this. So, yeah, I think in the next 10 years, 20% of the G20 and maybe 10% of the world's leaders would be gamers.
That's a fabulous prediction, and a very probably will happen. Will actually happen. Jay, did you want to answer about your IP?
For sure. My advice would be for studios to not focus on. There's a lot of things happening, especially if you're like whether startup or established game studios. There's a lot to think about when you're embarking on a new game development project. If you're gonna do that, try to drown out all of the noise that's happening and create something that's unique, create something that's true to yourself, that would ultimately showcase your creativity and innovation. I'm a firm believer of that throughout my career journey, and I'm seeing it manifesting at the moment. So look into that. Don't think that tools, for example, like an IP, would solve your problem. Like regardless, even if you put a brand like Star Wars, for example, if you're in your game, if your game doesn't have the right features, doesn't have the right systems to acquire, monetize, engage, and retain your players, the IP won't matter. So I would look into that. I'm excited to hopefully find the right studio to work and bring a project similar to like Twisted Wonderland, but coming from this part of the world.
That's awesome. Jay, I really appreciate, and I'm sure everyone else in the audience appreciates how really pro studio and creator you are. It really is coming off, and I think that's a testament to the Walt Disney Company.
Thank you.
John, did you want to?
You know, the black market in dev kits might be a route to go forward. Might have one in my garage, you never know. No, look, I think I mirror what the guys said there. You know, I think one of the most exciting thing for me still in the gaming industry is the IPs that you could never imagine would be created. I think it's if you're showcasing your imagination, and I think bringing that imagination and that creativity and that fun to the space in whatever role you sort of work in, I think is really, really important. You know, the gaming industry can be quite a tawdry place to live and work in sometimes, but you have to remember that you have the opportunity. Remind yourself, sorry, that you have the opportunity to work in something that is, you know, extremely fun. And if you're not having fun, then you shouldn't be in the industry. As simple as that. You shouldn't want to get in the industry. So yeah, it's you know, there are so many different genres and industries converging. You know, whether, you know, film, music, art, etc. And you know, it's a blank canvas and an open landscape to create games and let your imagination run wild. So I would like to see, you know, as many people join the industry as possible like that really, really, really want to showcase what they can bring in terms of their ideas, new IPs, fresh IPs. And I go on an IP because I'm a big believer in brand and IP leading the industry and can change the industry. While we have so many rigorous, you know, laws and processes and elements of compliance to live by, you know, that is the life of being a publisher. I really am envious of those, you know, those breakthrough projects that come along, and if you're lucky enough to work on them, where an IP really stands out, and it could come from an existing place like Walt Disney, you know, or it could just come, you know, from left field, absolutely nowhere. So I would encourage that with any young person is, you know, don't let yourself get bogged down in all the obstacles and all the challenges that the gaming industry poses, because it's so complex when you get into it. For so long, I lived on the outside of the core gaming industry as a vendor, as a supplier. I have absolutely no appreciation of the complexities, and when you get inside, they can be quite daunting. And to retain the passion that you have, you know, for fun in video games and creativity, you know, that's something that will allow you to really shine, I think. So that's my advice.
That's fabulous to remember the whole North Star is right, to have fun and to build playable games that are engaging. Robert, to you.
Yeah, maybe just two things. I think what's unique here, and you know, looking at the future, I globally don't know many, you know, countries that actually have a gaming strategy at the core of their government. So from whatever aspect you're involved in the gaming industry, you know, the access and the tools and the connections that come and the foresight with such a gaming strategy is just unbelievable for the support that you can get. So to be able to operate and do what you want to do in such context is, I think, very motivational. We're super excited about the future of gaming. It's certainly something, you know, we talked earlier about technology that doesn't stand still at all. You know, from our side, we create new platforms, whether that's VR2 or the portal that opens up new opportunity as well. So I think with all the things that you can do, for me, always one thing stood out, and that's just a simple thing, that quality matters. So just focus on quality. Quality will always rise to the surface, whatever you do, in whatever aspect you're in this industry.
Thank you so much, and I want to thank all of the panelists. Let's get ready to be amazed, right? And there is no doubt MENA is going to continue to dominate globally. It's an exciting time for gamers to be in this part of the region. Thank you very much.